Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litters webinar on Data for Action. In this webinar, we will also give you a sneak peek of the new Global Plastics Hub, which we are launching for World Environment Day. My name is Fredrik Haag. I'm one of the co-chairs of the GPML alongside Sarah da Silva from Environment Climate Change Canada, and it's my pleasure to open this webinar today. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and the presentations will be sent to you all afterwards. The Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter, GPML, is the largest global multi-stakeholder partnership, bringing together governments, civil society, academia, and the private sector to address plastic pollution and marine litter. The partnership currently has over 800 member organizations, and if you're not a member yet, please do not hesitate to sign up today. The GPML is led by a steering committee, and the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, provides the secretariat services. You may be familiar with the GPML digital platform, which we have rebranded and expanded with new content and exciting features. This new Global Plastics Hub is the largest global digital platform on plastics that is dedicated to accelerating evidence-based collaborative action on plastic pollution and marine litter. It offers seamless access to critical global data sets, scientific research, and expert networks to help governments, civil society, academia, and the private sector, and individuals as well, to take significant action. The hub also serves as a one-stop global digital space for sharing knowledge and data, guiding countries in evidence-based policymaking and fostering collaboration among stakeholders. It showcases more than 2,800 resources and 80 global indicators across the plastic lifecycle, helping you identify gaps, monitor trends, and design effective strategies. Today, we will explore the key functionalities of the hub with success stories of how governments and stakeholders have used the data and knowledge of the platform to inform evidence-based action to address plastic pollution. We will hear from government representatives of Norway and Japan, whose investments in the GPML and the Global Plastics Hub have made this success possible. We will also hear insights on the importance of data for action from Nigeria, before opening to a panel discussion with representatives from South Africa, the European Investment Bank, UN Habitat, and the local government of Mombasa in Kenya. And now, without further ado, I would like to let us explore the power of data and the potential of the Global Plastics Hub together. I thank you once again for joining us, and I will hand over to Nao Takeuchi from UNEP to guide us further through the webinar. Now, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Fredrik, for the inspiring opening remark, and then also touching upon the Global Plastics Hub functionality, which we are going to explore today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our today's agenda. So first, we'd like to hear from, we will have a video message from Government of Norway, from Mr. Pa Fredrik Ilsas Faro, Director of the Department of Climate, Nature and the Private Sector of NORAD. That will be followed by Mr. Yoshihiro Mizutani's remark, coming from who's Director of Marine Environment Division, Ministry of Environment in Japan. Then we will hear from Lagos State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Philip Wahab, the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Lagos State Government. And then I'll move on to make a little bit of presentation about what the Global Plastics Hub does and so on. Then we go into the panel discussion and the Q&A session. So without further ado, I'd like to move on to the video message from the Government of Norway. So I'll stop sharing here. Jeffrey, could you share the video, please?
Esteemed colleagues, Dear friends, it's a pleasure and a privilege to share this message for today's webinar as we gather for the pre-launch of the Global Plastics Hub, an innovative platform aimed at enhancing the global response to plastic pollution. Norway has been a key contributor to the global partnership on plastic pollution and marine litter and the development of this hub. We acknowledge the GPML's role as a central global partnership, uniting governments, civil society, academia, and the private sector. This platform will aid countries and cities in crafting policies and action plans informed by the best available knowledge and data. The importance of data cannot be overstated. It is undeniable that significant gaps and reliability issues persist concerning plastic waste and pollution. Bridging these gaps is crucial for creating effective, evidence-based approaches to solving the problem. The GPML's data-driven approach has contributed to real-world impacts such as single-use plastic ban in Nigeria and waste management infrastructure enhancements in Kenya. These efforts have also advanced our scientific understanding, including global estimates of plastic leakage into the environment. There are still a vast number of important data and methodological gaps that stand in the way of a more complete picture of plastic fluxes both nationally and globally. Standardized methods is crucial. We appreciate the ongoing work on guidelines for plastic flow statistics by UNEP and UNITAR. As the world pushes forward to deal with the plastic challenge, we will continue to play our part. Norway has been a major contributor to development cooperation related to ocean issues for decades. Since 2018, Norway has significantly funded efforts against marine litter and plastic pollution. The government recently extended the initiative to combat plastic pollution in developing countries, allocating up to Norwegian kroner 1 billion over 4 years. Our priorities include enhancing regulatory frameworks, supporting resource mobilization, and encouraging private sector contributions, promoting sustainable production and consumption, and improving waste management. This effort targets countries in Asia and Africa with rapidly growing economies and populations, as well as small island developing states. We truly appreciate the partnerships with these countries. Concurrent with these efforts, Norway is actively involved in negotiations for a global, legally binding agreement to combat plastic pollution as co-chair of the High Ambition Coalition. An effective agreement could greatly reduce plastic pollution, which should, of course, be our main goal. The world faces an escalating plastic crisis, with plastic waste projected to nearly triple over the next 25 years. The Global Plastic Hub will make a significant contribution to equipping decision makers with essential data and knowledge to shape their approaches to this crucial challenge. Additionally, we hope this platform proves valuable for everyone dedicated to stopping plastic pollution and marine litter. Thank you for your attention. I wish you an informative and productive.
Thank you so much, and we very much appreciate the contribution from Norway, the government of Norway so far, for the development of a global plastics hub. And now I'd like to move on to a remark video message from the government of Japan. Jeffrey, is the red video ready? Great.
Esteemed delegates, valued partners, and distinguished guests, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yoshiro Mizutani, Director of Marine Environment Division, Ministry of the Environment, Japan. It is my great pleasure to celebrate the launch of the Global Plastic Hub with you at the GPML World Environment Day webinar. We would like to express our great appreciation to the GPML and the Government of Korea for organizing and hosting this very important event. Plastic pollution is an urgent issue that requires a broader global dedication to solve. This reflects both the transboundary nature of plastic pollution and the collective action required to mitigate its impact on our shared natural resources. Global collaboration is essential in tackling plastic pollution. In this regard, For ongoing negotiations on plastic treaty, Japan will do its best to develop an ambitious and effective treaty towards ending plastic pollution, which will be embraced by as many countries as possible. Today, we will be discussing the potential and the best use of the Global Plastic Hub, a one-stop global information and knowledge hub designed to guide countries in evidence-based policy making. Japan has also been working on collecting and sharing data and strategies related to plastic pollution, which can be adopted and implemented across different environmental and regulatory landscapes worldwide. Let me introduce a few examples. Firstly, since 2019, Japan has been compiling the annual G20 report on actions against marine plastic litter together with G20 presidency countries to share best practices. Nearly 60 countries have contributed to the report up to now. Secondly, we support the Regional Knowledge Center for Marine Plastic Debris in the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and the East Asia. The center functions as a knowledge hub for the ASEAN region. We have also been focusing on the importance of accumulating scientific knowledge, including harmonized monitoring methods and data on plastics in the environment. In 2019, we published the guidelines for harmonizing ocean surface microplastic monitoring methods. Last year, we released a global marine plastic litter mapping database called the Atlas of Ocean Microplastic, AOMI. Those tools will contribute to further strengthening the scientific research needed at a global scale. Those knowledge and data is essential for informed policy interventions and adequate resource mobilization from all sources. This is why Japan has been actively supporting and collaborating UNEP GPML since its establishment. We would like to express our appreciation to UNEP GPML for their tireless efforts in this area. I'm confident that today's discussion will lead us to take actions towards a more sustainable environment and a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the very insightful remark, and we very much appreciate contributions and collaborations with the Ministry of Environment Japan so far. And we also look forward to further meaningful collaboration in the area of data harmonization and also data collection towards the evidence-based action planning and also the policy making towards the addressing plastic pollution. Thank you so much. So I'd like to move on to Mr. Tokunbo Wahab, Lagos Minister of Environment. Mr.
Okay,
Tokunbo
thank
Wahab?
you. Yeah, thank you very much now. Thank you for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to address you today on a matter that profoundly impacts our environment, our health, and our future. And that's the matter of plastic pollution. Lagos, and Lagos State, for those who don't know, is a state in Nigeria. It's the smallest state, occupying about 3,577 square kilometers of land. However, Lagos is housing about 22 million people, which is about 10% of the country's population. A third of Lagos' land mass is water, and to the south of Lagos, you have the Atlantic Ocean. Lagos is a vibrant megacity, which faces significant challenges. We generate approximately 1.2 million tons of plastic waste annually, of which 40% is leaking into our water system. This staggering figure underscores the urgency of our mission to combat plastic pollution as a state. Hence, in early 2020s, despite visible signs of pollution, clogged canals, littered streets, and overflowing landfills at Olusosun and Solostri in the state, we lacked precise data to quantify the magnitude of the problem we face as a state. Recognizing this gap, we partnered as a state with the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and UN Habitat to conduct our first comprehensive waste audit. The findings were very alarming, but they were called for action. Each Lagos resident, according to the findings, was effectively contributing 34 kilograms of plastic waste per year into our waterways, equating to about 10 plastic bottles per person per day. Armed with this data, we took a decisive action. Hence, in January 2024, Lagos State chose to implement a ban on single-use polystyrene food containers, commonly known as styrofoam. This is now expanding to other plastic products and also at the national level because we have to trade the place as a state. This policy aims to reduce the non-biodegradable waste that clogs our drainage system and pollutes our waterways and our environment. Beyond policy changes, we've launched several initiatives afterwards. One, recycling banks. We've established recycling banks in government residential estates, in schools, in communities, and markets to encourage waste separation and recycling. Community recyclable management programs also. We initiated this in March 2023 in Ifako-Ijaye, local government area of the state. This program promotes community involvement in recycling efforts. We also introduce environmental advocacy. Through awareness campaigns, we educate residents on the importance of reducing, reusing, and recycling plastics. These efforts are part of our broader commitment to environmental sustainability. However, we also recognize that legislation and programs alone are insufficient. Hence, public participation is crucial. We urge every resident to join us in this fight against plastic pollution by adopting sustainable practices in their daily lives. Looking ahead, we aim to strengthen our data collection and analysis capabilities to inform policy decision makers of the way forward further. We also plan to collaborate with stakeholders, including private sector and civil society, to develop innovative solutions to plastic waste management. And we are seeing the result of this because big conglomerates like Coca-Cola have set up the biggest plastic recycling plant in Nigeria in Lagos. In conclusion, the battle against plastic pollution is a collective responsibility. With accurate data, effective policies, and active citizen participation, as well as a political will, we can transform Lagos into a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wahab. It's very inspiring to hear that data is catalyzing some very decisive policy actions, such as single-use plastics ban in Lagos. And then it's also nice to hear the different initiatives and actions that are also catalyzed through this data collection activities. Thank you so much for Mr. Tokunbo Wahab. And now I'd like to move on to a short presentation from me about the Global Plastics Hub, what it is and what it does. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, no.
Yes, great. Thank you so much. So Global Plastics Hub is the one-stop platform for data, knowledge, and collaboration to end plastic pollution. And then please be with me to follow this presentation. So as mentioned by Frederick in the beginning, the Global Partnership for Plastic Pollution and Marine Data is the largest global multi-stakeholder partnership addressing plastic pollution in marine data. And it unites government, civil society, academia, private sector, and then the steering committee and the UNEP provides the secretariat support. And then Global Plastics Hub is mechanisms to support this multi-stakeholder partnership and accelerating sharing and knowledge, data, and then also connecting the different experts. It is unmandated by the UN Environment Assembly Resolution 4.46, and this is the largest open source crowdsourced platform on plastics. And then it offers an access to technical resources, good practices, data, network, and also the connect stakeholders and integrates data to coordinate action and facilitate target setting and measuring progress. So if you can see, as you can see, this HTTP Global Plastics Hub, please Google and then you can find and explore this one. So at the moment, Global Plastics Hub, it contains more than almost 3,000 technical resources, good practices, case studies, guidelines, tools, training courses, and so on, under the Knowledge Hub area. And, and then, excuse me. And then we also, under the Data Hub of the Global Plastics Hub, we have more than 80 indicators from the global data sets to visualize plastics in the economy, waste management, and legacy plastics. So we also have a country dashboard to visualize the data and to see the country's trend in the plastic flow in the economy and the environment. Community Hub also, we have more than 2,000 stakeholders and experts connected under this space of the Global Plastics Hub. And then once you register to the Global Plastics Hub and then create your own account, then you have an access to the personalized workspace where the country dedicated workflow is provided together with a step-by-step guidance for developing evidence-based national action plans or strategies. So this is a quick glance of how the Knowledge Hub is actually looking like. So on your left side, you can see a library under the Knowledge Hub, and we have different resources, projects, technical resources, technology, action plan, legislation, financing resources, case studies, and so on. And these can be searched according to life cycle, plastic resource type, geography, and also different keywords. On your right side, you can see the Learning Center. This is more in-depth learning area. Learning materials are gathered. And then you can see online courses, masterclasses, webinars, and so on coming from here. And this is a quick glance of how the Data Hub is looking like. We, at the moment, integrated over 80 plastic life cycle indicators, and then visualizing it and at the global level and in country level. The global map is actually looking like this. And then here you can see the different layers. We have a trade, waste management, and legacy plastics data layers showcased in here. On the other hand, here on the right side, you can see how the country dashboard is looking like. Once you type your country, you can see the same global data sets according to different countries to see the overall trend of the plastics flow in the trade, waste management, legacy plastics, and so on. So this is how the country dashboard is looking like. For example, now I'm showing the national country data of Kenya, which is coming from UNCTAD. So UNCTAD is one of our partners who provided the data, global data sets that they harmonized and then published in 2022, based on the UN Comtrade data on the plastics imports and exports, according to the different types of plastics, including plastic primary forms, intermediate forms of plastics, and so on. So you really can see that, for example, in the case of Kenya, you can see what where those countries are positioning in the plastic value chain. Clearly, in the case of Kenya, you can see the quite a lot of plastics imported for the domestic consumption, and a little bit of that is exported as a final form of plastic. And this is also the how the waste management data is looking like under the country dashboard. We collected different sets of data sets coming from cities and then also national estimate. The national estimate is provided from the UNEP's Global Waste Management Outlook, and then the city level data is provided from UN Habitat. They're monitoring on the SDG 11.6.1. And then also we gave a reference of the regional average from the World Bank data. And this is also how the country dashboard of the legacy plastics is looking like. We are showcasing the data on the mismanaged plastic waste escaping into the ocean and coast, which is coming from the Florida State University result study, and then also the beach data that is coming from the SDG 14.1.1 monitoring on the beach litter. And then this is how the country dedicated workflow is looking like. So the country dedicated workflow is a space where we can provide the step-by-step guide, inspiring case studies, and so on for countries to develop national source inventory of the plastics, and then also develop national plastic strategies. And then a step-by-step guide is provided like this. And then if you, for example, go into this step, you can see the template of how the state of knowledge report, for example, can be developed. And then here, step-by-step technical guidance is provided. And then we are continuously updating and improving this step-by-step technical guidance as the new findings and the new standardized methodologies and so on are being published. So this is still very much evolving. However, at the moment is looking like this. And this is how the community hub is looking like. You can search both organizations and individuals who are part of the wider network of global partnership on plastic pollution and marine litter, and through geography and then also keywords. So coming up for the coming years, we would like to be that global hub, knowledge hub, data hub for the plastics to end plastic pollution. So these are the actions we would like to take. For example, first one is to leverage the global plastics hub for the strengthened science policy interface through knowledge and data curation to inspire evidence-based policy making and action planning through continuous expansion of knowledge hub, data hub, and a country dedicated workflow. The second ambition that we have is to become the platform towards the improved transparency on plastics materials and associated risks through access to best available science, links to platforms on chemicals, stakeholder dialogues, and in capacity development for plastic safety and in sustainability. The third area that we would like to explore with you is that a cumulative progress tracking mechanism that supports countries and stakeholders to track and report progress against the global goals with shared key performance indicators and harmonized monitoring and assessment methodologies. We would like to measure our progress on the plastic pollution reduction towards the ending the plastic pollution, and we would like to do it together. And we also together develop the harmonized monitoring and assessment methodologies for the selected key performance indicators. The fourth areas that we would like to move forward is the increased investments in tangible and bankable projects through connecting and coordinating key actors and donor communities, providing capacity development and possible social and technological solutions, utilizing innovative tools. Maybe we can also develop some marketplace for the matchmaking of between donors and then also the donor communities and in the stakeholders who are looking for funding for the plastic pollution reduction project. The fifth element that we would like to excel is that AI-powered solution hub, providing data-driven policy recommendations and solutions for plastic pollution prevention and mitigation, trained with existing data and resources available already on our Global Plastics Hub to be able to generate tailored recommendations. And then finally, and then most importantly, we should be inclusive and empowering. So we'd like to strengthen the gender awareness in the plastic actions, increase the youth engagement for innovative solutions, improve the accessibility for persons with disabilities, fostering broader participation in environmental decision-making, and so on. So please be part of the solution and help us to shape the Global Plastics Hub to meet your needs. So this is the very important point. The Global Plastics Hub is still evolving, and we would like to co-create with all the stakeholders. And yeah, so I think here we'd like to move on to here. So this is my last slide. So please access to the Global Plastics Hub .org and join us, and then join the GPML and sign up for the Global Plastics Hub. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. If no, then I'd like to move on to the panel discussion. I'd like to invite panels for this discussion. First, Andrew Motha from Department of Forestry, Fishery and Environment of South Africa. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for joining.
Thanks a lot, colleagues.
Thank you. And then I also would like to invite Shiho Jinno from UN Habitat. Shiho, are you here?
Yes. Hello, colleagues.
Thank you. And I also would like to invite Joyce Clue, Circular Economy and a Waste Sector Expert from the European Investment Bank.
Hi everyone.
Hi. And then finally, Mr. Francis Toya, the Deputy Governor of Mombasa County.
Hi, and hello to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in this panel discussion, we actually would like to discuss about the potential of a Global Plastics Hub for evidence-based policymaking and strategy development to address plastic pollution. So I first would like to maybe give one quick question for Andrew. And so the South Africa is one of the countries that we work together for the development of national source inventory and then also national plastic strategy together using the Global Plastics Hub. And then we're working together for the past years on these activities. And I'm just wondering, what is your experience using the workflow, this country dedicated workflow that we have been using, and then also the Global Plastics Hub in general to develop national plastic strategy? And how can we strengthen the data to action approach from the Global Plastics Hub? So maybe Andrew, if you could introduce yourself quickly and then also answer the question, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
No, thanks very much, colleagues. I also would like to thank the opportunity to be in this august platform to talk about data in plastic and how it informs the way that we do things. My name is Andrew Mota. I'm with the Department of Forestry, Fisheries, and the Environment within a unit which is called Integrated Waste Management. True, we have worked with UNEP over the past couple of years, and the platform itself came in very, very handy. So in South Africa, we've got I think there's big interest in terms of where the plastic pollution debate and discussion is going to. There's various data sources that we now and then would want to find in terms of the research that has gone on from different stakeholders. So you would see that there's universities that are working and generating information and data of plastic. And what we have seen is that using the platform, we are able, one, to enhance trust in the data that we are using, in a sense that we can be able to track where the data is coming from. You can be able to track who has seen it, who has reviewed it. But also, I mean, it gives confidence when you look at it and then you compare with other countries, because you are immediately able to see that you're either in the right track or you're not in the right track. And I think from a perspective of the platform itself, for us, what we found very, very useful is exactly that, to say that if you are to look into the value chain, into the workflow, it's a very much well orchestrated way of looking into data. So all of these questions that you have to ask yourself in terms of where it comes from, in terms of what is the quality, can we trust this information, who generated it, and what was the intended audience. It becomes very easy to get that information, and then enabling us, whilst we were developing our own national plastic action plan, to be able to see that we've got credible data that we can be able to stand out there and defend. Because if you're sitting there with our stakeholders, they would ask that question to say, where is it coming from? And I think for me, that's where the value, the first on right on your face kind of win is. And then the scientific question, obviously, to say, can we trust this information? And this platform has enabled us to know confidently that we can actually be able to trust it, because you can link where it comes from. You can see if it matches with other similar situation. So I think to cut the long explanation short, that the platform itself worked very well for us, and we have seen also that within the country there's a lot of other stakeholders who are not necessarily in the government line of things, who have got information and they use the same platform. So we get the full benefit of that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's really interesting to hear that even like that, actually the source of data being showcased is really good for the stakeholders' engagement. That's your experience so far when it comes to stakeholder engagement when developing plastic strategy.
Yes, true. I'll make an example. We put together a national steering committee. And this is a steering committee that is composed of experts, experts from university, experts from the sectors themselves, people who have been working with plastic for over 30, 40 years. And when you are going there and you are with a government, the one thing you always have to ask yourself is this credible? And when you come out from the other side looking like I didn't know what I was talking about. So the platform then helps you answer those questions because you can see it, you can be able to evaluate what you are getting as information, look at the reports that have come through from different sources on your table, compare them with the information that you are getting from the platform, and then you are able to know very well that this is information that I can be able to trust and that I can be able to defend.
How about the stakeholders' engagement so far? For example, step-by-step guide is provided, especially for national steering committee establishment and also stakeholder engagement. Of what kind of a stakeholder should be involved in that consultation and so on. How did you find those guidances provided, especially on the country-dedicated workflow in the platform? Do you think that was useful for, or more necessary, more enhancement could be provided in there? What's your experience so far?
The benefit that comes with the interaction and the work that we did with UNEP is exactly that. Because remember that when you are sitting there and you are planning your project, you get a lot of questions in terms of who should I invite as a stakeholder. I remember when we were sitting must have been Paris, and I looked at that chart that then helps you identify to say when you are planning your project, who is likely to be a stakeholder participating here. And now you look at the list of the different stakeholders, and the first thing that comes into your mind to say, oh, I did not think this sector is actually involved. But as you look at it and you think, actually, no, we need to be able to invite this this collective so that they can contribute into into the inventory and also into the strategy that we are developing. And what it does also is that if you are one institution as government, you always have this reliable list of stakeholders. It breaks that monotony. It actually gives a different perspective to say, have you looked into this sector? And have you seen how they impact on the policy or the strategy that you are trying to do? Instead of saying, no, we've always worked with these guys. So I think I found that one of the most important attributes of this platform, because it stretches you. It makes you ask yourself these questions to say, but I do not think this one is relevant. Why are they sitting here? And then you go and then you follow and then you check with actually they are supposed to be in this table as well. So that was very, very useful as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and I'm very happy to hear that the Global Plastics Hub is helping and also inspiring in the different steps of developing national source inventory and also the national plastic strategy. That's very useful. Thank you so much, Andrew. So now I'd like to move on to question to Mr. Toya. Deputy Governor, Mr. Toya, are you here?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So I'd like to kind of like coming back to this very inspiring story about Mombasa County government. I think back in the days in 2019, UNEP and UN Habitat supported in a very similar way in Lagos. We supported the Mombasa's first comprehensive waste audit using the SDG indicator 11.6.1 monitoring methodology called Waste-Wise Cities tool. And I was just wondering, and then since then I've heard that Mombasa has been unlocking investments in plastic circularity infrastructure, sorting facilities coming from different donors. And then now I heard that the different organizations such as European Investment Bank, JICA, and then other big donors are looking into investing into the comprehensive improvement of the solid waste management system in Mombasa. I'm just wondering about what do you think about the importance of data in the fight against plastic pollution and also unlocking the investments in the infrastructure that you really need for the plastic pollution and reduction?
Thank you. Now, and maybe first, let me put into perspective exactly where Mombasa is. Maybe those who are listening to me may be able to understand exactly where we are coming from. One, Mombasa is a port city along the Indian Ocean and the gateway to East and Central Africa. Mombasa has a landmass of 222 square kilometers with a population of almost about 1.2 million. So a relatively very small area within the Indian Ocean. So obviously one of the critical things you'll realize is you have an area that has rapid urbanization. It's within a port. So obviously there's a lot of waste being generated within this area. So again, lastly, it is the smallest county within the Republic of Kenya. Back to your question, sometimes in 2019, true, Mombasa was supported by UNEP and UN Habitat, and we undertook a waste audit just to understand exactly what is the kind of waste the city or the municipality by then was generating. And among the key findings of this waste audit was that we had 50% of our waste which was uncollected, 3.6 kilogram per person of plastic was leaking into the water system. So with this data, of course, it actually called the county into action. So one of the few things we did immediately thereafter, I think we started figuring out exactly what is it that we can do. And I can pinpoint that at that point in time, everybody was quickly thinking, why don't we get into waste to energy? But of course, with data, with this waste audit, again, we started realizing that maybe the waste we were generating was too little for us to go the route of waste to energy. So again, we're seeing the importance of data at this stage, that of course it now redirected our policy strategy towards the entire waste management. And now we were no longer thinking of going towards waste to energy because we realized the waste we were generating was too little and it could not enable us to go to waste to energy. So what did we do? With this data again, we realize now maybe we needed to start thinking on how do we engage the various stakeholders who are within the waste stream, particularly on the larger issue of the circular economy. And from there, we saw an opportunity. We now realized we could organize the waste pickers into the waste space where they could directly benefit from the waste earn some income out of it, and in return, they will be having sort of like some livelihood out of the same. So that is one. So we focused more on organizing the waste pickers to see how they can now benefit from the circular economy. And lastly, of course, with this data set, with this waste audit that we had, one of the remarkable things that we saw immediately after we had this data, we were able to catalyze the various donors that were there. And luckily enough, we were able to bring on board WWF together with the Coca-Cola Foundation, who became interested in finding out solutions around plastic pollution. And I can confirm today, out of the engagement we have had with the WWF just recently, they bought a truck for the waste pickers so as to accelerate their ability to recycle plastic, because they realize that the waste pickers are playing a critical role in the circular economy. So these waste pickers who used to use hand cuts to carry plastic and all that, today they have a truck where they're able to collect plastic and deliver it to the off-takers who are there. Again, it is this data set that also influenced the European Investment Bank that was also keen in trying to see what are the opportunities that are within the waste stream. And currently, European Investment Bank has picked part of this data set, and they have actually moved further to do a feasibility study, where now they are seeking to see what are the opportunities that would exist within the entire circular economy. So those are some of the few things that we are seeing out of the data sets that we've developed out of the waste audit that we did. And we see a lot of opportunity because currently also JICA has also been interested. They've just come in. They're also seeking to see how best they can help the county understand the entire value chain within the waste stream and see how best they can give us more capacity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting that even those data is probably only not data. Data can actually carry narratives and stories. And then that actually also unlocked some of those initiatives for the just transition. Many of the waste pickers who are one of the stakeholders in the value chain of the waste management, I think, is also again be catalyzed. That's very, very interesting and a very inspiring story. Thank you, Mr. Toya. It's very interesting. Because yes, would you like to add something more?
No.
Oh yeah. Okay, great.
No.
So I think now, like, laid a very nice foundation for the next panelist, Ms. Joyce Clue from European Investment Bank. So as Mr. Toya mentioned that the EIB is currently conducting feasibility study for improving Mombasa's municipal solid waste management system to tackle plastic pollution. So could you tell us more about what role does data actually played in informing such kind of a large investment and then improving the bankability of the investments? Joyce, please.
Yes, thank you very much now. Yes, I can start by quickly introducing myself. As you've heard, my name is Joyce Clue. I work for the European Investment Bank. And at the bank, I am responsible for circular economy, blue economy, and waste management. And currently, I am managing a program called Clean Oceans Projects Identification and Preparation, also known as COPIP. And the objective of COPIP is to identify and prepare projects that prevent plastic pollution into the oceans in sub-Saharan African countries. And that is where I've had the opportunity to work with the Excellency Deputy Governor of Mombasa on the feasibility study of Mombasa Waste Management project. So to come back to your question now, so generally for us, I'll give you a perspective of the data that we look for to actually make a project bankable. So these are both qualitative and quantitative data sets. First off is the technical and technological data sets. And this mainly involves the baseline studies, which is part of the work we've done for the feasibility studies for COPIP. And here we look for general basic data or information for solid waste management, includes population, per capita waste generation, total generation, composition, collection, transportation, treatment, recycling. So once we have these data sets, we are able to actually identify gaps that are missing in the value chain and also identify fit for purpose technologies. For example, we cannot come and just propose the purchase of vehicles that are electric when there are no charging ports, for example, because as we are a climate bank and normally we only finance projects that protect the environment, so things that don't result in emissions, pollutions, and all that. So we identify solutions that are fit for purpose. And once we identify these gaps of the solutions that are fit for purpose, we come up with a design capacity of these infrastructures. We know how much infrastructure is needed, what is needed at collection, what is needed at recycling, at disposal, do we need a sanitary landfill, etc. And then that informs infrastructural investment cost that is needed and the OPEX operation cost as well. Another data set that we look for and is critical is the enabling framework. And here we're looking at institutional setup. How is waste management being governed or managed? Is it at county level or local level, or is it at national level? In certain countries, this is at national level. In Kenya, for example, it is at county level. We also look at the legal setup. What is the legal framework? Is it allowing the infrastructure, the technology, and what we want to do to actually be eligible? So the legal framework will guide also what we can do and not do, and financial assessment of the promoter. The promoter in this case could either be municipalities or the national government, the person who is really carrying the project forward and telling us they need to work with us. Do they have enough budget, enough financial capacity to actually manage the project and to implement and operate? And based on this, we are able to identify the need for a technical assistance. Even though we are a bank, we give loan, but our loans also come with some technical assistance if it is needed. The technical assistance could be a grant, and it goes in supporting the project during implementation period. This could include a detailed design is needed, preparation of tender documents and procurement, capacity development, environmental social impact assessment, etc. Other data sets that are actually also critical are the financial and economic analysis. And the financial side, in many a times in waste management projects, in plastic recycling management projects, is normally negative. In certain cases, we find positive financial rate of return, but in many cases, it is negative. So here we look at, if financial analysis is negative, it means the project cannot be viable if certain measures are not put in place. So mostly things like tariffs have to be looked at. Willingness to pay the tariffs that are needed, maybe an increase in tariffs is needed for the project to be viable. We look at tipping fees, the landfill, the sale of recyclables. Are these profitable? Are they bringing any profits? If we are looking at selling of plastics or sale of compost, lava, biogas, etc. And once the funding gap is identified, These funding gaps could be things like could be filled by things like subsidies. There could be a need to increase tariffs. And then affordability has to be looked at, whether it's if it's increased, is it affordable? And if it is not affordable, what can the state do? And things like grants can also come along with supporting. So the main reason why bankers like us come to finance solid waste management projects, even though most of the times, as I've mentioned, financial rate of return is negative, is because of the economic benefits. Economic benefits means there are other benefits other than money. You know, it's a public good. So things like shadow costs of carbon, like avoided emissions. And this comes through carbon pricing because we put a value to it, we put money to it. And things like health benefits from avoided pollution. Maybe the drains were clogging, there was stagnant waters all over because of plastics in the drains, and then people are getting some kinds of diseases, etc. So those all are monetized. Employment benefits that come with the project, and also things like reduced marine pollution. We are able to quantify this and make the project viable for us to be able to finance it. Other things that we look at are, which is very, very crucial, is environmental and social aspects. The environmental aspects include environmental impact assessment. There has to be a public involvement, public consultation. The permits, if there are any permits that are needed, these permits, according to law, they have to be available for us to come in and finance the project. Are there any pollution potentials? Is there land acquisition needed? And if land acquisition is needed, are there any resettlement plans that will be put in place to actually compensate for those who will be displaced? Are there any ongoing public complaints or legal disputes regarding any component of the project or the scope of the project that we want to do? Some critical social aspects also include the rights and interests of vulnerable groups. And here I am talking of waste pickers. And so we have to also look at the labor standards of the country. And child labor is something that is a no-go in many countries. In dump sites, you find children also collecting recyclables. And when we come into a project, we ensure that we work with the local authorities to make sure that there will be no child labor involved in this when the project comes to life. We also look at things for like occupational health and safety for these waste pickers. Their protection, their rights and protection when it comes to labor laws. Is the country ratified with the ILO convention, the International Labour Organization? There has to be a plan to develop specific safety plans for the project. There has to be public awareness measures, and the capacity generally of the promoter or our counterparty to prepare and implement environmental and social management plans.
Okay,
Yeah, so
thank you.
those are the main
Mhm.
data sets that we look at. Thank you.
So it's very wide range of the data sets, I think. So if I think that what we have at the moment, the global plastics have it is a little bit limited in case of like creating bankable projects and stuff. But if we start, for example, like collecting such kind of detailed information, do you think that the global plastics hub would be very useful for even those investors to come and create investment cases?
I think currently the main aspects that we can contribute to is mainly to share the knowledge and guidance on what we look for in bankable projects. Because many a times we realized most promoters or those who need these projects to be implemented, they're looking at donor funding. But as you can see, the shift right now in the international community, beginning with the United States, donor funding might come to an end at some point, and the only other viable option would be investment finance. So for now, we can just share this knowledge to make stakeholders aware in case they need investment in their for solid waste management. It is possible, and they should do A, B, C, and D. And also, one more thing is maybe to support with the evidence of in developing policy, data-driven policy, especially when it comes to putting subsidies, state subsidies for solid waste management in place. As I've mentioned, it's very, very critical for that to happen, because the financial rate of return is always negative in many cases.
So the information, so there's so many like learning can be really found out, especially for the policy development from those investment cases, development, project development process, probably for improving the economic viability of the investments. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. That's very insightful. And then I'd like to move on to final question for UN Habitat, Shihong. So UN Habitat has been a part of GPML, and then as we mentioned many times, pioneering the plastic pollution monitoring through the SDG 1161 on the municipal solid waste management in cities. Sorry, and then our long-standing collaboration, like through GPML since 2019, since we supported the tool development and application in selected cities, has now started seeing some positive results in the ground, such as single-use plastic ban in Lagos or the infrastructure investment case development in Mombasa. So could you tell us what are the key data that drives the change on the ground? And also, could you please share your insights on how we can accelerate this and scale up this change across the world?
Thank you very much now, and then hi colleagues and hi participants. My name is Shiho from UN Habitat, and I'm mainly managing the African Clean Cities platform, which is UN Habitat's regional initiative for the improvement of solid waste management. And first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you for UNEP and then UNEP GPMLs for the collaboration and the support in developing and applying the Waste-Wise Cities tool, which is again monitoring methodology of SDG indicator 1161. And we really value this long-standing partnership with UNEP GPML, and it's great to see that some real impacts are starting to show on the ground. And also, thank you for integrating our data into the Global Plastics Hub. That's a big step forward for us. So since its launch of the Waste-Wise City tool, it has now been used in almost 65 cities in the world, of which 40 cities are in Africa, through the African Clean Cities platform. That is our, the African Clean Cities platform is our regional waste management initiative. And now we have almost 200 cities joined as the member cities. So my response to your question is very influenced by the ACCP's data collection. And from its applications of the tool, we have noticed two key pieces of data from the tool that are especially useful when it comes to making decisions at both local and national levels. So first piece is the percentage of plastic in the waste. This is always telling us that consumption patterns in each city. For example, while the global average is around 12%, but in Lagos, we found it was close to 40%. this is a huge difference and showing very high plastic consumption in Lagos, which could be addressed through upstream measures like banning single-use plastics. And the second important data point is the plastic recycling capacity in the city. So this point is telling us which type of plastic are currently being recycled in the city or in the country. So when you compare this with the first data point, it gives us a very, very clear picture. For example, which plastics are ending up in the environment and should be phased out. Also, which ones we need to build more recycling capacity to recycle that materials. So these insights are especially important when we are doing feasibility studies or estimating the economic impact of phasing out of the certain plastic products. So this is very they are very concrete and actionable and help bring different stakeholders together. So that says our current monitoring only covered 65 cities, I said. And if we want to get a clear national level picture, we really need the tool to be applied in more cities, not only in Africa, but also other parts of the world. So I'd like to take this opportunity to call for action to apply the Waste-Wise Cities tool in more places so that we can understand what plastics are leaking into the environment and what's already being recycled. And also to be able to decide which products should be phased out and invest in the right infrastructure to build and towards a circular economy for plastics. And I believe this will also open the door to many green job opportunities, especially if we make sure the just transition. And lastly, as the African Clean Cities platform, we also believe that some mechanisms are needed to accelerate the data to action approach that we already have done in some African cities to formulate tangible or bankable project. And we have this sort of scheme that show project seeds and connect the cities with potential donors. Yeah, that's my response.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting insights that plastic composition in the municipal solid waste is actually looking at a reflection of the consumption patterns. So that is really like focusing on, can really suggest the upstream measures such as single-use plastics ban, evidenced by the Lagos case, for example. And it's very interesting that those city level data can actually provide some a little bit of snapshot on like what plastics recycling is happening in that country or economy, because it's sometimes those data is actually lacking. Thank you so much. So thank you very much, Andrew, Joyce, Shiho, and then also Deputy Governor, Mr. Toya. So I'd like to, we have a little bit of time still for the question and Q&A session. And then I have a question coming from Stevie from the question and answer. How the global plastics hub will respond the fact that most of developed countries exporting their plastic waste to developing countries, including several in Europe and Japan exporting to my country, Indonesia, in the terminology so-called international trade of waste, because it labeled as export-import activity, economy-oriented, without considering that it harms the environment and pollute the ecosystem. Will the hub be able to help about it? Thank you. So I think this can be answered by probably me. So we are at the moment have trade data incorporated in the Global Plastics Hub, and then that actually can give you some a little bit compared to the other types of plastics. Usually the plastic waste trade is a little bit limited, but you can actually looking into that that section and how much is there. And then if for example, developing countries like Indonesia importing plastic waste category more, then what are the policy implications? The policy implication could be some of the ban of the plastic waste importation, such some of the countries like China did it for the past years, I think that several years ago. So that's some insights probably we can look at it. We can also have a deep dive on it and then look into that data sets more and then provide narratives in that. Thank you so much. And then we also have some comments from Essam. Further to my previous question, I just wanted to emphasize that how the national willingness and the private sector are supporting the efforts to minimize the plastic waste, especially single-use plastics. I don't know, maybe this could be answered by Andrew or maybe Mr. Wahab, if you could share any experience, especially for like single-use plastic ban in Lagos or the national plastic strategy development experience on the willingness of the government and also the private sector. Maybe Andrew, then I'd like to move on to Mr. Wahab. Andrew, do you have any thoughts on this comment?
I think from our side, we'd expect that the countries would have familiarized with themselves with the Rotterdam and those conventions, because that's where you actually manage what comes to your country, the different funding conventions. Because here, what the hub does, it gives you information in terms of flows, in terms of where it comes from and all of that. And what is critical then is that as a country, Indonesia, what you have to do is to see which convention are you assigned to, and implement that. Because I would not think that the hub itself would influence policy. It would actually guide you in terms of giving you information that you would then use to influence your own policy. I think I would want to handle it at that particular level. Thanks.
No, you're on mute.
Sorry, I'm so sorry about that. So thank you, Andrew, about this. Mr. Wahab, are you still there? Mr. Wahab? Maybe here he's not here. But yeah, so maybe then now we are also having a time. The closing time is coming. So thank you very much, Joyce, Andrew, and Mr. Toya and Shiho for joining our very vibrant panel discussion. It's very informative and very for us to inspire where to go in terms of the further development of a global plastics hub. And we'd like to keep the conversation with the stakeholders like you to further develop this hub. Thank you so much. So now I'd like to thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Shiho. Thank you, Andrew. So now we are having the coming to the end of this webinar. Thank you very much for your participation in this webinar. I hope everyone enjoyed this this webinar, and then also enjoy the have some interest in visiting Global Plastics Hub and so on. If you have any problems on the functionality on navigating the Global Plastics Hub, please reach out to us, and then we can support you or bringing you on board onto the Global Plastics Hub. And today's webinar is the pre-launching of the Global Plastics Hub. However, that next week, on 4th of June, we officially launched the Global Plastics Hub in the celebration of the World Environmental Day in Kenya. And it's from there, we are going to operate this platform up and running. And please join us and register yourself, get connected, and then also share your experience and data from that platform so that we can build and co-create the knowledge for the global community to support our efforts in reducing and at the end ending the plastic pollution. So thank you so much for your participation, and then see you soon. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.